Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'm going to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Merkakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who teach and rule well. And peace and salutations to the elect feeding the sheep of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai with sincerity, truth, and with charity. I'm the brother Barak. Lord willing, this will be another edifying lesson. And this lesson is going to be about the mark of the beast must be implemented first before you see the destruction of Babylon the Great. Right, I'm going to repeat it again. The mark of the beast must be implemented first before you see the destruction of Babylon the Great. Right, America will be destroyed. America, Babylon the Great. Right, according to biblical prophecy, it will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Right, but before all these things come, right, the mark of the beast has to be implemented. Right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6, and it says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right, so when you hear of these different things on the news, you hear of this country is going to do this country is going to do that, this country is going to bomb this country. These things will happen, but certain things have to happen before the ultimate destruction of America, Babylon the Great. Right, there will be wars, battles, right? Lots of American people, American soldiers will get sent off to die in war, and these other nations as well. They're going to be sent off to die in war, right? That's pursuant to Joel 2:20. But when it's speaking about the end of the world, right, the end of Esau's world, right, where ultimately, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai basically cracks the skies, right, and nukes America, Babylon the Great. Before that happens, that mark of the beast must be implemented into society, must be made mandatory. Right, so I'm going to show you in a second. This is the book of Revelation 13, 16, and 18. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Right, so that system where no man might be able to buy or sell, right, that has to be established, right? Just according to prophecy, that has to be established before you see any major destruction of America, right? Because if America was all destroyed by nuclear fire, right, and according to Isaiah 6 and 11, it speaks about that this city shall be wasted without inhabitant, roughly paraphrasing, right? So that means that the mark of the beast has to be implemented before, right? Because how are you going to implement the mark of the beast when everything is destroyed? All the buildings are destroyed, when all these different cities are destroyed, blown up by nuclear waste, and there's nobody left. It wouldn't make sense, right? So it has to happen before. And I'm going to bring out Revelation 14 and verse 8, right? And it says, Revelation 14 and 8, and it says, "And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." Right, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." Right? So that's ultimately, that fire is speaking about, it's not speaking about hell, right? It's not speaking about hell as in what these Christians believe. There's the hell doctrine. That fire. It's speaking about thermonuclear missiles, right? Basically coming down into America and destroying, basically everything. And only the elect are going to be saved out of that, right? And those people who took that RFID microchip, that mark of the beast, they're going to be literally fucking burned. They're going to be destroyed, right? So and that's the thing. How would these things must happen. The implementation of the mark of the beast, right? Jacob's trouble, right? The famine of the word, right? Before the complete destruction of America, Babylon the Great. Right, so if there's anybody telling you, if there's people telling you, the Lord is going to come back on, tomorrow, the Lord's going to come back on this day, but yet, you still, these prophecies still haven't happened yet, right? So until these prophecies, don't listen to those people, right? Until the Lord, until these prophecies come to pass, right? These prophecies have to happen first before Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai returns. And these prophecies are the implementation of the mark of the beast, the microchip, right? Jacob's trouble, the famine of the word, but I'm mainly speaking about in this lesson, the implementation of the mark of the beast. It has to happen before the destruction of Babylon the Great. Here I have the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right? And that hour of temptation, once again, it's speaking about that implementation of the mark of the beast. Right? When this devil Esau Edom, he makes this mark of the beast, RFID microchip mandatory. Right? The Lord, he's going to basically keep his prophets, right? Keep his elect. He's going to keep them away from that, right? He's gonna preserve them, and while the rest of these people, the majority of them are going to go take that RFID microchip, right? So these things, once again, they have to happen first, right? There has to be, the hour of temptation, that will come upon the earth, right? And because a lot of these Christians, they believe that, that there's not going to be any great tribulation, right? They don't believe that, there's not going to be any famines. A lot of them, they believe that they're just going to be raptured up, right? Which is a completely false doctrine, right? Yes, the Lord, he can beam, he's going to beam his men up with chariots, right? But these Christians, they have it, completely, bugged out mindset. They believe they're not going to have to, they believe that, they're not going to have to endure any, tribulations. This is the book of Matthew 24 and verse 21. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Hamashiach, or there, believe it not. Right? For there shall arise false Hamashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if they were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Right? So it's not going to be possible for this devil Esau Edom to deceive the elect. Right? But he's going to try to perform different signs and wonders, right? Especially using that microchip, right? He's going to try to pretend like he's healed certain people, right? He can say, this will help you with your if you don't have any legs, if you're a paraplegic, just he'll tell you to go take that chip, right? Or he'll try to say you can start preserving your consciousness with this chip, right? He's going to try to do all sorts of different ways, telling people, they'll be able to live forever, right? But the elect, we're not gonna fall for that, right? But the main point is that the mark of the beast has to be implemented first, right? Okay, once again, there shall be great tribulation, right? So that word tribulation.
Strong's G 2347. Thlipsis. Thlipsis.
That word tribulation, it goes into oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, or restraints, right? And it says persecution, right? Trouble, right? So there's going to be a time of trouble like no ever before, right? So that's ultimately part of that hour of temptation, right? Before that's basically the test, right? It's going to be the ultimate test, right? And ultimately a lot of people are going to fail that test, right? They're going to take that chip, and that's why you have to pray to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai that you're a part of the elect number, and that you ultimately he doesn't allow you to go and take that chip, right? Because ultimately it's up to the Lord, right? It's up to the Lord, and but the main, you're going to see a lot of people take that chip during that hour of tribulation, right? During that hour of temptation, right? Because they're going to be starving, right? There's going to be famines, right? Different pestilences, and Esau Edom, he's going to try to starve people out, right? He's gonna try to find any way to get people to take that chip, right? Through deceit, right? Through starving people out, whatever the case might be. But he's going to try to find different ways to get people to take that RFID microchip, right? But and then after that, that's when the destruction will happen. That's when the Lord will come back and destroy, those who took the chip with thermonuclear fire, right? And he's going to beam up, and then he's going to beam up his elect via the chariots, right? So once again, just wanted to make this, quick, edifying, and straight to the point. With that, I'm going to give all glory and honor to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, who teach and rule well, and peace and salutations to elect feeding the sheep of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Shalom.